but I put on Instagram yesterday a post that was talking. It kind of was related to our discussion on Market Mondays about lifestyle creep, living below your means. So there was an article published with a family that makes $500,000 a year, and they said they were scraping to get by. And I actually saw an article a few years ago that a guy that was making a family that was making like $1 million a year, 900,000, close to $1 million a year, and they said that they were struggling financially. They call it I forget. There's a class for like the struggling rich or like something like that. Like it's there's actually a financial term for this. So a lot of people still can't fully understand how a family could make $500,000 a year or even more, and struggle. But I think it's important to have this conversation because it's good to educate people before you even maybe particularly even get to that standpoint, right? Because you got to be prepared. And the tax system really hurts employees the most.
For sure.
But it hurts high earning employees the most.
Yes.
Right? Like we're in a beneficial space because we're entrepreneurs. That's why I always say the tax code is made for entrepreneurs and investors. It's not made for employees. Because let's say if we make $500,000, right, as an entrepreneur, we have the ability to take a lot of different tax deductions, whether it's people that may work for us as far as contractors, employees, or equipment that we may have to buy, or travel that we have to do for business, or vehicles that we have to use for business. So our income, we can save a lot of money on taxes. But if you just are a high earning employee,
making 400, 600,000 a year,
architect, engineer, somebody that works for a firm,
works in tech,
there's not too much that you can write off, right? So that's the first part. You're going to get a lot of money taken out of tax because you're making enough technically where you're quote unquote like rich, but you're not like Jeff Bezos rich. So like that 30%, 35%, that's a lot of money.
Adds up.
That's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
But that's the first thing that people don't fully understand. But then it's like everything increases when you make more money because your environment changes.
Yep.
Very few people have the same environment when they're making more money. That's just human nature. So when you live in a better neighborhood, what does that mean? That means that you're paying more for a mortgage or you're paying more for rent, right? When you also live in a better neighborhood, 9 times out of 10, even the extracurricular activities for your children increase.
Cost more.
There's camps that cost $6,000 for a summer, 6 weeks, $8,000. When I was in camp, my camp that I, even to this day, that I'm still involved in my community center, that cost $500 for the summer. And parents, and some people complained about that was too much.
Yeah, back in the day, 500 was a lot, yo.
I'm just saying, but that's a big difference. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, even you don't think about how much a camp would cost for an upper middle class neighborhood, right? Or how much
daycare
for sure.
Some daycares are more than people's rent and mortgages.
We gotta talk about these AAU teams too. Like your son plays basketball. I don't know if he's in the AAU team circuit yet, but these AAU teams cost $3,000, $3,500 per session. So that's like three months of AAU ball is like $3,500 just for that.
Yeah, it's taxing.
Then you got,
and if you get a trainer, and I was talking to my barber about this, there's no more just I know there's some, so I won't say all, but how we grew up and it's an inner city star who's just great and people pour into him and he puts time in the gym. I'm seeing kids 6 years old now have trainers.
Everybody has a trainer. There's no, like you said, there is no go to the park, shoot 1,000 jump shots by yourself.
That's over.
Everybody has a trainer. Like you really need 2 trainers. You need the trainer for your sport, like a basketball trainer. Then you need a physical trainer to like lift weights, run,
conditioning. Yeah.
So those are two different things.
Yep.
Right.
And for people who say, well, I don't want my kids to make it to the NCAA. You need this for them to make it in high school now.
That's a fact nowadays. That's a fact.
Yeah, like 8th grade. Shout out to my got a relative plays AAU. He was just out in Dallas somewhere. I said, then when you get that, me and the trainer been working. In addition, he worked on his game and school. I'm like, this is a full-time job. And because of social media, you don't want to get cooked and you end up on the floor getting like, you have to compete. I'm seeing some 7th and 8th graders do moves that 10 years ago, most juniors in high school were not doing.
Well, a lot of them are juniors in high school. As far as that reclassified thing
is a big thing.
People are reclassifying now. So it's like two times. They'll reclassify. You'll have a 16-year-old in 8th grade.
Which is insane.
So it's so much stuff. But we didn't even talk about tutoring from the academic side, right?
Yeah.
You having a kid is expensive. Let's just say that, right? And then it's like we talked about the cost of a car. A regular car costs $100,000 now.
Insane.
Right? You got a family, you're gonna need at least 2 cars.
Yes.
Now you got 2 car payments that you're making, both over $100,000. That adds up. Groceries, all of that stuff, inflation. We know the cost of inflation. If you're trying to do the right thing, you're gonna put money into your 401k. That's gonna take money out. Then the cost of health insurance is crazy.
Yes. Let's talk about it. And then vacation or 2 per year. And then y'all be like, yo, why don't you buy a tourbillon? What? No, I'm good. Like the inflation, almost every industry has turned into a premium or luxury market. Like I remember when I got my first bill for Xander's daycare, Xander was maybe 3. I'm like, why is this bill $2,900 a month? He's 3. But what's the choice? Cool. Either I can have him with me all day, cool, and work, or I can get 4 or 5 hours to work. You got to pick your poison. So when people are like, I don't see how a person can make $500,000. And if you live in New York or even New Jersey, Austin, Texas, Miami, Florida, Chicago,
LA.
Oh yeah, you live in them hills. That 500 coin.
So bad.
Enjoy Nobu and Malibu. The month, but it adds up fast. And like you said, lifestyle creep as you do better because you worked your whole life. And one day, well, maybe not. We had a conversation on the dream that you get sold in America that if you just work hard, everything will pan out. Imagine you worked hard your whole life, and then 2020 comes and they print away 10 years of value worth of money in a heartbeat. For those who don't know, $100,000 isn't what I know. I got criticized for that by some who look like us and some who don't. I'm going to tell you 100, and I love him dearly. I love you, my brother. $100,000, it's not what it used to be.
It's not. And we didn't even talk about college. Because the thing is, you get punished. The more money you make in America, you get punished if you're not super rich. So Troy Tuck says Henry, I guess that's the name of it. High earner, not rich yet. And the acronym describes individuals who earn substantial incomes, typically from 250 to 500,000, but struggle to accumulate wealth due to high expenses, debt, lifestyle inflation, and poor financial planning. See, it's a real thing. So, and it's like, okay, let's say you make $500,000 a year. We went through all these expenses, and that's just some. We can go on for an hour about different expenses. But now, let's say you have to send your kid to college. You make too much money to really qualify for financial grants, financial aid, right? Yep. You want to do the right thing, and you don't want to put them in a situation where they have a tremendous amount of student debt. So which is another scam, right? So you're paying out of your pocket. It's very reasonable to think that college is going to cost $70,000 a year all in when you're talking about, and then they got to have a car if they're moving around. So it's like, okay, you spending $70,000 a year for your kid to go to college. That adds up because if you're making 500,000, you're really making 350 because of taxes, maybe even a little bit less when you got all the other deductions. So now you go from 350 to damn near 250 quickly just off of the college. Now, if you got multiple kids, what's the cost on that, right? So, long story short,
and then they graduate, and the job market is unstable, and then they launch this wave of AI, and then the job market isn't what it was reported to be when they went into school,
right? And the thing is, like, the word struggling is relative. It's not so much like you're going to be homeless tomorrow, but that just summed it up. You struggle to build wealth.
Yeah.
So, okay, you're making enough money to pay for all of these things and you're keeping everything afloat. But you don't have a substantial amount of money saved. You don't have an extensive real estate portfolio. You're making a lot of money technically, but you're not building wealth.
You're like not paycheck to paycheck, but you're like 2 or 3 paychecks away from being underwater.
Yes.
Even making 500 grand. This is interesting. This estimate does not include college tuition, private school, or lifestyle upgrades. The average cost of raising a child in the U.S. from birth to age 18 is between $310,000 and $350,000, depending on location and inflation. The interesting part, that number in 2018 was 180,
and
the number doubled after COVID.
How much you say? 350?
310 to 350.
That's man.
What?
That's not even
for one children. Oh, baby.
For me personally, that's not even a couple of years. That's a couple of years. Literally, that's a couple of years. And expense when you talk about all in expenses,
all money in.
That ain't from 0 to 18. So literally, by the time I'm gonna definitely have spent over $1.5 million on my son
easily
from the time that he's born to the time that he's 18, including everything, school. I'm gonna have spent $1.5 million on him.
Yep.
It's a big investment.
Yep. So for all y'all who don't be strapping up and just be out here willy-nilly, you're crazy. Y'all, we gonna have some more kids. For what?